I have tried to do this video in 3 minutes, and I'm afraid I'm not going to manage it. So I've given up now. I've fucking tried about a gazillion times. It was going to be a swing that lantern, pull up a sandbag video. It is now going to be that. But in the first instance, I was going to do it as an educational video and try and cram it into 3 minutes. I couldn't manage it. So yes, I will cram the educational part in. So if you're not up on schooling and you don't really want to know, you might want to fast forward onto another part of this video. But it'd be worth your while knowing this, because this is pretty simple. This isn't rocket science. Infrared. Infrared works at a lower frequency than our visible eye can see. Our Mark 1 eyeball cannot receive infrared light. It can see down, and it can see sources of infrared light, you know, if they're of a particular frequency. But the lower frequencies, the lower you get, you can't see them. Like, this is, I've been waving this around. This is an example. Up in around my house, I have got CCTV cameras with infrared capability. Those cameras are visible. You can see when they switch over to infrared, because there's a couple of little red LED infrared sources switch on, and you can visibly see them. What you can't see is the light that they're providing down onto the subject matter, which is me, sat in my chair, waiting for somebody to come and pop me in the fucking head so that I capture you on camera. So, fucking think again, you cunts. So, yes, you cannot see an infrared source. The Mark 1 eyeball cannot see it. However, devices can, right? Depending on how sensitive those devices are. And one of the most sensitive devices is an infrared, it's a camera, your front end camera on your iPhone. Now, when I look at this is a TV remote. Again, an infrared device. It shines a beam of light between myself, the buttons, and my TV receiver. Okay? So when I press, there's the volume button getting pressed. You can see a flashing red LED. Yeah? When I look at that myself and shine it directly in my eye, I can't fucking see it. It's out of the frequency range. Now, that's a sort of, the range of that, this is why visible LED, infrared LEDs can be seen, is because you're trying to increase that range so that it will light up a greater area. With a TV remote, you don't need it to be that far, you know, 2 meters away and you're laughing, you know, 3 meters, it might work, 4 meters, 5 meters, you're definitely talking about it starting to fail, you know, it just doesn't have the range to work your thing. Right, let's go on to another scientific, interesting thing. As you go down in frequency range, so you're down into the infrared spectrum, I should have just let the TV play so you get the idea. Let me go to I was watching a video actually here. It was pretty good. It's called The Cleaner. It's about a girl, she works for cleaning windows. I used to know a guy that used to do that, ex-parrot. Would abseil down and clean the windows of office buildings in London. And that's what this movie's about. She's ex-SRR, Special Reconnaissance Regiment. So, let me go back. I don't want to put... Come on, fuck off. Just hit a button. Wasting time. But we got bags of time now because I'm not trying to fucking bust my balls doing a 3-minute video. Oh, right. Let's put a shitty YouTube video on. One of mine. That'd be good, wouldn't it? And I'll just let it play. Let me try and find a long one of mine. Library. There's a 15-minute one of 2 British Muppets. British Army Muppets. That'll do. I think I took this one down. Right. So I said, by the way, there's the grid reference. Let's see if you can visibly see this frequency. Let them know. Because I think this frequency, this is a phones in them days, right? All you had was Fire Stick remote. This radio, let's see if it's visible. It was called the Cougar Net. Right, so I'm going to press. 2 nets. Now you can see that is working, right? I'm pressing, and there it's paused. The pen was that frequency is below the visible range of the receiver in my iPhone camera, yeah? Because there's no light, you can't see any light flashing on that. So it's down into more of a radio frequency rather than a light frequency, okay? I'm not exactly sure what frequency these things operate on. That's why they're so fucking good, you know? You can use them anywhere in the house and you can pretty much press it. Because it's a radio frequency, it'll find its way to your thing, to your Fire Stick. Right. That brings me on to the interesting fact about infrared, okay? Because infrared acts as a torch, essentially, okay? So I'm pressing, there's the volume. Let me bring the volume button all the way down. And let me start this video again. There. So there's my dulcet tones. I'm pressing the button now. And the admin net, PAN, the province admin net. There you go. You can now hear up and down, up and down. We thought that was the best thing. Okay. We were fucking, I mean it, we were fucking Let me turn that down because it's fucking shit. So that is the visible range, or a close, it's not visible, but it's close to the visible range. And therefore, it's directional in that it will reflect off devices. And that's why, like, if I was using, right, here we are again. Let's do this again. My TV remote, I'm pressing it here. My TV's up behind the camera here. And yes, it works. Yeah? Roger. Right. When I push it and there, it works still. Why? Because it's reflecting off the wall. Now, the wall doesn't reflect visible light, does it? No, it doesn't. A mirror reflects visible light. But because of the frequency of this light, if you were to look, and I was given this in a demonstration of this on a surveillance course I went on, in the infrared range. they actually put infrared, by the way, is also in the body heat range. You know, that's why you can pick up these guys running around. You know, the poor bastards got shot in Iraq, one of the first videos, viral videos that came out. All these terrorist guys getting shot to death by on an infrared, via an infrared camera, blown to pieces by an Apache helicopter. That's why you can see that, because it's body heat, which is in the infrared spectrum. So the interesting fact I was shown on this course was, and you can probably tell I've had a few drinks, so the brain's a bit slow. The guy put a plastic bag over our head, right? A bin bag. He put us into a bin bag, or a candidate that he picked out. And he says, guys, what do you think the camera's going to be able to pick up here? And they went, well, you know, most guys were guessing. I knew already. I'd already been trained to a higher standard in technical expertise, shall we say. I said it's going to pick up. You'll be able to see just about anything. You won't be able to pick out features. It'll be either black or white, depending on you go white hot, black hot. But you'll be able to pick out his features, his nose, his eyes, his mouth, depending on the temperature that's coming from his body. And the guy goes, all right, smart arse, shut the fuck up. Don't speak in my class again. So yeah, I fucking knew the answer. Then so yes, it did do that. Of course it did. Visibly, we couldn't see him because he was in a black bag. Infrared spectrum, yes, you could see him because his body was heating up the bag, and it was radiating through the bag, and you could see him. Same way you see in the movies, you know, you see all these guys in buildings and shit. So then he asked another question, and he told me to shut the fuck up as well. He said, what do you think about this, guys? When I've got a big plate, and he had a big, massive plate of scratched the fuck aluminium, it was, you know, scratched metal. And he says, guys, what do you think is going to happen when I hold this behind him? And we look through the infrared camera at him. And he goes, I shut the fuck up because I knew what it was as well. It reflects. It acts as a reflector. So because it's a lower frequency, it actually looks like it's a fucking mirror image of him. You know, he was walking around with this piece of metal when we're looking at it with our eye, but on the camera display, it's reflecting him like it was a mirror. And that is how, as you go down the frequency ranges, that is why something as simple as your TV antenna, okay? You know, your TV antenna to pick up, Sky, here, right, say a dish, right? That is why a parabolic dish can have holes in it. It's multiple things as well. These things can have holes in it. But say something like your TV, old-fashioned TV antenna, and they used to call it a reflector, but it was like, say like my 4 fingers were just pieces of metal with big gaps in the middle, yeah? But because the frequency is low, the frequency doesn't recognize that as and it has to be, they have to be of a specific distance apart. it doesn't recognize the spaces. It just sees it as a reflector. So the signal comes in, hits the reflector, and then bounces back across the receiving, which is the horizontal part of your antenna. So the signal is amplified because you've got a reflector on it. Yeah, it's reflecting it. The signal is effectively traveling across your antenna twice. It travels across it once, hits the reflector, and bounces back again, and you get more signal. Yeah. And infrared does that as well. You know, so infrared is really fucking. It's an interesting sort of project of mine. You know, having used it a lot in the surveillance world. So I'm gonna go on to the swing the lantern part of this story and I pull up a sandbag. We used to work sometimes in a place called Crossmaglen. It's down in the arse end of Northern Ireland, the shithole end of it. And there used to be two towers. One was called, well, two sangers essentially. One was called Baruki Sanger. I think that was named after a guy who died. He was either shot or I remember they set fire to it. I don't know if that was the guy. The IRA drove up with a muck spreader, you know, one of these things you see the old farmers, and it kicks out a load of muck. Well, they had the idea of fucking loading that up with effectively fuel mixed with shit. Probably, I don't know, maybe. Therefore, they turned the shit into a type of napalm. And they set fire to it and drove past this Sanger and had it spray out all over on flames, effectively creating a napalm bomb out of a tractor and a fucking muck spreading trailer. All right, so there's an old story for you. I don't think that was the Baruki guy, I'm not sure. But I remember fucking used to have to leave the camp. And back in the day, when I was a young lad, we didn't have fancy computers or anything too much, you know. We still relied on old teleprinters, you know, like you see in these old fucking James Bond movies and that. And I remember having to run with a fucking big old teleprinter strapped to my back and run out to Baruki Sanger in order to fucking replace the one, rather than try and fix it in the Sanger, because that Sanger was out to the wind, like that, you were left in the shit, you know. It was a dodgy place to stag on back in the day. So we used to just do a 1-for-1 swap, run out with a fucking printer on our back, chuck it in, and then get the fuck out of there with a fuck printer, you know. The printer used to do a job. It used to be a surveillance system that it wasn't surveillance. It didn't watch anything, but it allowed the soldier to, you know, if he saw a cargo pass with a certain number plate, he could type in a number plate and he would get feedback on who it belonged to and if there was any warnings about the vehicle, had it been stolen, had it been, you know, so that sort of thing. So it was a useful tool, like. Anyway, the infrared, I'll bring you on to the infrared story. We used to have another tower in Crossmaglen, XMG used to call it, Crossmaglen. And I think it was Gulf 60. And you used to have to climb up to this fucking tower and we would watch people coming out of the pub across the square. And what we used to do was we'd have one of these high-powered torches with an infrared filter on it you know. So if you looked up at the Sanger where we were, you couldn't see, you know, it was the same as your TV remote. You could not see the frequency as a source, you know. But we lit them up like a fucking Christmas tree, you know. So we could watch them. They're all stood having fags, and we're fucking filming them all coming out of the pub, and we got names. We could tell everything. We knew exactly who the fuck these cunts were. That was one of my videos why I was so pissed off we couldn't actually go and fucking do them in. As in Trump, not Trump, whoever fucking was there during the Twin Tower thing, declaring war on terrorism. Not war as far as we knew it. Fucking shit. Got downscaled. Fucking paramilitary activity. Fucking joke, like. And they cry like fuck, you know, like, you know, when there's guys at the Loughgall incident, for example, there was intelligence received that these bunch of fuckers were going to attack a police station at Loughgall, and they drove up with a fucking bomb they were all dressed in boiler suits and everything, and the SAS fucking know who they are. And them boys didn't fuck around, you know. So they detonated their explosion. They had a bucket to break into they planned to rob the armory of this RUC station. That's the old style police. The Royal Ulster Constabulary, not the modern police we have nowadays, the Police Service of Northern Ireland. So they got a fucking rocket up their ass, like. The SAS came out and just fucking, you know, obviously shouted as you had to, you know. Army, stop or I fire. And they didn't stop, so they fucking wasted them all. But they still to this day claim that they were innocent, you know. That was the closest I ever saw over here to actually being able to go to war on terrorism, you know. Fucking shit, man. So there you go. That's my old Swing a Lantern one, and a little bit of an education for you all in frequency ranges and spectrums and the Mark 1 eyeball and that. If you're lucky, I'll maybe teach you how the eyeball works and how cameras work, because I had to do a lot of training on how to make sure I could get a camera to work. And this was a long time ago, before digital cameras. We all have them in our phones nowadays. It's so easy to make a video. But no, this is old school CCTV. Closed circuit television, CCTV, in case a lot of people just know the acronym and they don't know the fucking what it stands for. Yeah, so okay, that's enough waffling. Stay low, move fast, enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for watching, guys. Okay.